Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today I want to talk about Jasmy because, I'm sure you already know why, because we've seen some monster moves coming out of Jasmy, and there's some really crazy things going on, but I also did just want to kind of talk a little bit about the moves, potential for the future price targets, how we should maybe be kind of thinking and making sure we're not too greedy, a lot of that type of stuff, just to make sure that as we go through, we're not getting carried away. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive right in. So starting out, what we can see is looking at the crypto bubbles, Jasmy up 17%, really good. It's actually pulled back a little bit from where we were seeing earlier in the day. It was up 30-40% earlier on in the day, which is crazy stuff. Overall, the market just kind of at large looking really strong. Lots of crazy things going on here. But Jasmy finally starting to show some moves, and that's really kind of what we've been looking for. If we do look at the Jasmy chart, let's zoom in a little bit here, and we'll get into kind of some of this wider stuff a little bit later. But we could see for quite a while, very little volatility happening. Even after like the election, when things start to move up, we saw a little bit of some moves, but really kind of not too much. It was mainly sitting in between these two lines. And now we finally started to see a big move up. As we could see, earlier on in the day, I think just stopped just shy of 3 cents. Yeah, 2,984. So just barely short of that 3 cent mark. But major thing here to look out for is we broke over this previous resistance that had really been kind of a struggle for us, and so that's all looking good. Let's start looking at the fib retracement so we can get rid of this, clean the chart up a little bit, and then we can start looking at some of these other details, because I know there's a lot of stuff going on. So first off, what we could see is looking at the fib retracement, we have kind of the first 236 range. This is kind of the main level of resistance that you could see we broke up a little bit, but really it was primarily just wicks here and there. So the 236 was kind of the big range that we needed to get through. We can see that we actually broke all the way up through that and even momentarily rocketed right through the 382 range, almost even touching the 0.5. But we have come back, we've settled below the 382 range, and we'll have to kind of see what happens from here. It does look like we're kind of squeezed between the 382 range as well as the previous resistance range at about 2.5 cents. So not a bad place to be. I think things looking good overall. Moving on, obviously we're going to be wanting to see the 0.5. I think 618 at the kind of 3.4 cent range. This will probably be another pretty difficult level to break, and then probably after that, next one's going to be the 4.5 cent range at kind of the previous highs that we've seen this year. Moving on further than that, looking at the extension, we've got some pretty important things to see. We've got the 1618, which is the 6.2 cent range. I do think if this kind of move in the alts continues to happen, we could see a move up to the 1618 range even by the end of the year. I do think that that's a possibility. And so seeing, 6.2 cents on Jasmy by the end of the year would be fantastic. And so, depending on kind of what happens short term, with this kind of move to the upside, if we can kind of hold in this kind of tight range, I'll probably take a relatively low leverage long, just because I think that'll be a nice way to kind of play the upside here. If you are interested in trading and doing something similar, you can feel free to use Margex. Margex is a really great place. As you can see, I use it for a lot of my trades. I do still have my Bitcoin trade open, up almost 400% at this point. We'll see. I'm thinking about kind of paring it back a little bit, but overall I'm just kind of letting it ride. Looking good so far. So I haven't had any reason to pull back on it yet. But overall, if you are interested, I do have that link in the description below. No KYC or VPN required, so you can essentially just get signed up and start trading. Really nice, really convenient, super easy. Also, they do have up to the $10,000 in deposit bonuses. So if that is something you're interested, feel free to do that. Leverage trading is not without its risks, so just make sure that you are aware and you understand leverage trading before you go and do anything too crazy. Happy to answer any questions if you guys have any, but as I typically do, I'm usually trading relatively low leverage just because I think it's easier to make sure you're not getting washed out on your trades, particularly after very large moves to the upside like this. So moving on, what we can see is after the 1618, we got 2618 at about 9 cents, 3618 at about 12, and then 4236 at about 13.7 cents. And that's kind of where the fib extension ends from there. Honestly, pretty good targets to be kind of looking at. Like I said, I think kind of 1618 appears, or it seems to be kind of the most reasonable, at least insight within the end of 2024. I think as we get into 2025, we will probably see a lot more interesting things happening, and even 13 cents may look a little low. I know we're kind of all looking at that 20 to 30 cent range. 34 cents is a number I see kind of floating around a lot. That'd be a fantastic return for all of us, and I do think it's also kind of within the realm of reason, just depending on kind of how the alt season unfolds, and what narratives and hype and all this other stuff that unfortunately plays a larger role than maybe we'd want it to. So with that being said, let's get rid of the fib retracement and let's go and look a little bit into the charts. There's a couple things I want to point out. We can see volume is coming back to Jasmy. Really, really good. Not even close to what we were seeing to kind of the run up that we saw in early June, where we did kind of top out at those local highs here. That's okay. Obviously, we do want to see volume come back, but the fact that we haven't seen it come back yet, not the end of the world, but seeing the volume tick up a little bit is really, really great. One thing that's actually really quite surprising to me, and it honestly is really, really bullish in my opinion, is we did see a pretty decent move to the upside today, and we're still not in the overbought range on the RSI, which to me is really, really good news. Shows some pretty decent strength within the price action of Jasmy, and so I'm quite happy to kind of see how that's gone. What we can see is we're seeing almost like this inverted wedge, or like a reverse wedge kind of forming. We did kind of wick above it. We have pulled back within it yet, so far kind of these trend lines are holding so far. We'll kind of see how this goes over the next day or two, but I think that for me at least, the most important thing that I'm going to be looking for is holding above this level of resistance and actually truly turning it into a somewhat strong support. We can see in the past it's been a relatively kind of a difficult resistance to break, and so the fact that we have actually broken it, to me, is a really good sign, but we need to make sure that we put in some volume here and actually turn it into a pretty strong support. And so that's kind of what I'm looking at here. Overall, we've got a super great move, on Jasmy. Things looking really good. One thing I did notice though is this move didn't really happen on any sort of like news, at least from what I could tell. If there's something that I missed, please feel free to drop it in the comment section below and let me know. But from everything I can tell, this move kind of, at least to me, seems like it may have been manufactured a little bit, just because it didn't really come on any sort of news. If we do go over to X and check, we can see that Kraken is actually going to be listing Jasmy on Monday, so about 36 hours from now. Obviously great news. This is more exchanges are better for any coin ever, and so the fact that Jasmy is going to be getting listed on Kraken Pro, fantastic news. It's primarily within the US and Canada, so not like a major exchange listing or a major listing like we might think otherwise, but overall still really good news. Things looking good there, but this is old, right? I mean, this is from a couple days ago at this point, so I don't think it was moving on this news. Maybe it's moving in anticipation of the listings here. I don't know, it's hard to say. A move like this seems maybe a little bit much for something like that, but it's hard to say. And so one thing that essentially what I'm getting at here is, if we see something like this moving without any sort of real news, imagine what kind of move we could see with actually some real news coming out, right? And so this to me, I think is a pretty encouraging sign, and it's something that I'm definitely like taking a look at, just because with this type of like movement off of really not too much going on, I think that's a good sign. It shows that there is still life within the chart. It still shows the eyes are still on it. Major moves up obviously bring more eyes to the chart, so that's all good to see, good to hear, all that type of stuff. But what I'm going to be looking for is kind of what follows, and I do think / hope the Jasmy team is going to have some news here pretty soon, just because usually when you see a move like this, more eyes are going to be on your project, more eyes are going to be on your chart, obviously all that type of stuff. And so adding some good news to that definitely is a very good thing to do. And so we'll see how it goes, but I do it would not surprise me if that was something that we saw here in the near future. So anyway, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. If you did, please do give me a like and subscribe. It really does help me out growing the channel and getting pushed in the algorithm and all this type of stuff. I do try to bring these updates relatively quickly, or as quickly as I feasibly can, just with my schedule and things that I have with work obligations and whatnot. But hopefully the information is useful. Like and subscribe really is the best way to support me, and also watching the videos through to the end is also helpful as well. Like I've said previously, if you have any comments, questions, anything like that, just feel free to drop them in the comment section below. And thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.